I want to bring in House Minority Whip Steve Scalise out of Louisiana. Sir, how you doing? Good day to you. Picking up seats. How do you think this goes now when you convene in early January, sir?
Well, Bill, we had some great wins. We flipped a lot of seats from Democrat to Republican. Marinette Miller-Meeks, like you mentioned, is one of those great new members. 6-vote margin out of about 300,000 votes cast. And she's going to be great, like Claudia. I think in the end, Claudia is going to win. But, just bizarre that they keep finding ballots mysteriously and just enough to flip the seat back to Democrats. That smells fishy, and I think people are rightfully watching that as well. But in the end, when you look, all the experts in Washington were predicting we'd lose at least 12 Republican seats. Instead, we're probably going to gain at least 12. That's roughly a 25-vote swing.
We asked a lot of people this question. Get a lot of very interesting answers. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think there's a lot of questions being raised about the methodology of some of these pollsters in Washington, but also the so-called experts, the elites who were saying, oh, Pelosi's going to get another dozen seats. Pelosi herself was saying that, and now she's answering tough questions because instead they lost about 12 seats. Because we had great candidates, first of all, but I tell you what, Bill, the voters of this country rejected socialism, and we confronted it head on. All of these Democrats who embraced the defund police movement, and then when they realized the public didn't like it, they tried to walk away from it, but they were out there in those marches in many cases and embracing the idea of defunding the police, and people don't want that in their communities.
Well,
and we took them on.
A lot of Republicans believe those same issues are still on the ballot for the Senate races in Georgia come early January. I want to talk about the COVID deal. There appears to be some movement on that today. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, I'd like to see us get a relief package. We've been pushing for weeks to bring up Steve Chabot's bill, which allows small businesses who are struggling to go for another round of PPP loans, those small business loans that saved millions of businesses and millions of jobs already. Some of those businesses are still struggling. So unfortunately, a lot of them have closed. Pelosi brought that bill onto the floor today. It would get over 400 votes, and yet she's actually focused more on legalizing pot this week than on helping those small businesses with PPP loans. It's just unbelievable how tone deaf they are to these small businesses and the jobs, the families that are tied to it.
Sorry about the interruption. It appears that her original marker of $2.2 trillion, I think that was back in October, was it not? It appears that she's come off of that number. Do you rate that as progress then?
Well, I rate that as President Trump putting his foot down and saying, I want to help small businesses and families. We're not going to bail out failed states. We're not going to do some of the things like the Green New Deal that they were trying to do in these bills. Let's focus on helping families who are struggling, and that's where the focus needs to be. Like I said, there's a bill that would get huge bipartisan support that's already waiting that Pelosi won't bring to the table. Hopefully we get something done soon. These businesses need help. Unfortunately, some of these governors who tell the businesses to shut down, but then they themselves are out there hypocritically doing the very things that they're telling you not to do. Yeah. I think people are watching and are fed up with that. But in the meantime, let's help those small businesses and those families who are struggling.
I think you put your finger on it, and we're waiting to see whether or not Washington really understands it that way. But you're making the case
Washington
that you
might not get it. Main Street does get it. I want to fight for those small businesses. And like I said, there are a lot of Democrats who do. They just won't stand up to Pelosi. If Pelosi put that bill on the floor, the Steve Chabot bill is a great example of a bill that would get 400+ votes, but Pelosi won't even bring it up. And it would help every small business in this country that's still struggling, using money that's already sitting there. $137 billion, Bill, that's in an account that's frozen. You don't need to spend another deficit dollar. You could literally just free that money up, and it would help any small business who is struggling with PPP loans. Why don't we do that today?
Sounds like it's sensible. We'll see if it happens. Thank you, sir. It's nice to see you again. Steve Scalise, it's been some time.
Great being with you.
Thank you for coming back. Appreciate that.